The combat sports are stacked with amazing athletes who've accomplished incredible things. From Tyson and Ali in the boxing ring to McGregor and Jones in the octagon. The fight scene has introduced us to some real killers, but even among these warriors, some stand above all the rest, and they've got the records to prove it. Let's take a look at some of the most unbreakable records from boxing and the UFC. First up, number 5 on the most unbreakable boxing records, most consecutive KOs. Lamar Clark is a name you might not have heard, even if you're a boxing fan. Well, guys, this man holds the insane record of 44 consecutive knockout wins. We know, impressive, especially when you consider no one has come close to beating it. Now, this guy definitely put in the work, but this record might not be as impressive as it sounds. Padded records are, unfortunately, a staple of the boxing world, and yeah, 25 of the guys Clark put to sleep were rookies with 0 professional fights. Now, don't get us wrong, it is still a very impressive record, and we doubt anyone will be breaking it anytime soon, even if it's just because it's unlikely a pro could get away with fighting 25 debutantes today. Also, fun fact, guys, even though you were probably scratching your heads when we brought this guy up, his final fight was a big one. That's right, he was one of the earlier guys to be put to sleep by the great Ali. Moving on to number 4, the most ever knockouts overall. Arguably one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, Archie Moore holds a completely insane record of 140 KO wins throughout his career. The man was a knockout machine, and unlike Clark, his record is 100% legit. The brawler was laying beatings on guys for 4 decades. Yeah, that's a long time, and the only other boxer to rival or come close to this behemoth of a record was another legend, Billy Bird. No one since has come close. We mean, think about it, guys. Who comes to your mind when we say knockout? Tyson? Yeah, Iron Mike was a terrific beast, so his KO win number must be close to Archie's, right? Wrong. Tyson, throughout his extremely dominant career, could only amass 44 KO stoppages. Now, 44 isn't a small number. The point is to show you just how crazy a record of 140 KO wins is. Yeah, no one's getting past this anytime soon for sure. Next up, number 3, the youngest world champion. This record might not be the most exciting, and we get it, but guys, wait till you hear about Wilfred Benitez. The man was in fact the youngest boxing champ ever at just 17 years of age. 17! Can you imagine? A boy destroying a whole weight class and climbing to the top in a genuinely competitive area. We mean, he won the title against a legend, Antonio Cervantes. Yeah, we don't know how you guys could find his record boring now. Needless to say, guys, this isn't going to happen again. It takes the stars aligning perfectly for even the most experienced fighters to reach the title, let alone a 17-year-old. It would take a miracle to break this record, a generational talent and a whole lot of luck. That's the only way we ever see this one being outdone. Following up, number 2 on our list, the oldest champion ever. Okay, so it's definitely crazy to see a 17-year-old champ, but it makes sense a young fighter with good endurance could survive in the boxing game. You know what doesn't make sense? Bernard Hopkins, the 50-year-old champ. The man was a reigning champ till as recently as 2014. This man was, without a doubt, one of the most successful boxers in the last decade. People like this are the definition of built different. Think about how crazy this is, guys. Most fighters are done by 30. They literally can't go on. If they don't get ruined by injury, they fall behind the rest of the division. But Bernard? Yeah, no, this guy was very much in tip-top shape till the end of his career. We don't see how this record is ever being broken, guys, we'll be honest. He outlived the average life of a fighter in the ring by 20 years, and that too as a champion. Finally, wrapping up the boxing records, number 1, the most world titles in different weight classes. Do we even need to say anything for this one, guys? Manny Pacquiao is one of the all-time greats of boxing. The man was inhuman. We mean 6 titles in different weight classes. We hope you guys realize how insane that is. Let's lay it out for you. He won his first title at 112 pounds, and the heaviest weight class he won the belt in was a whopping 30 pounds heavier. That means he beat guys that naturally fought 30 pounds heavier than him, and these weren't any pushovers either, guys. They were all experienced fighters. If you want to understand better how this record is here to stay, think about Canelo. This guy's a superstar and one of the greatest pound-for-pound boxers today. You'd think he'd have the same success as Pacquiao, fighting in heavier weight classes, right? Yeah, no, he definitely tried, but he got stopped by Bivol. All we're saying is if Canelo can't do it, we probably aren't going to see this record breaking anytime soon. Next up, let's look at the UFC's craziest records. First up, number 5, the youngest UFC champ ever. ever. There's really not much to say about this one guy. Jon Jones is just different. The guy dominated the UFC for years, and his only loss wasn't really a loss. As great as he is, it probably won't surprise anyone to know that this freak of nature is also the youngest ever UFC champ. All right, we hear you. 23 years doesn't have the same ring to it as 17, but you gotta understand, guys, MMA is a different game than boxing, and guys have been trying and failing for years to break this record. To be honest, there just isn't any young talent in the UFC these days that could even think of challenging Jones's run to the belt. Next up, number 4, the fastest ever KO. The BMF belt holder of the UFC, Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, holds one of the most exciting records that exist in the sport. The man knocked out his opponent, Askren, via flying knee in 5 seconds flat. 5 seconds, guys. That isn't any time at all. The refs had just signaled a start to the contest, and he was already doing victory laps around the octagon before we could even blink. It was wild. All right, we think this one doesn't really need much more explanation, guys. No one's going to beat Masvidal's time unless somehow a fighter can invent a way to KO someone before the first round starts. Also, this KO wasn't just amazing because of the time. Askren was going to be a future UFC star, and the guy was a certified killer and champion in 2 other promotions. Yeah, he didn't just send anyone into the Shadow Realm. Ben was the real deal, which is why this will go down as one of the all-time UFC classics. Now let's look at number 3, the longest win streak. Anderson the Spider Silva needs no introduction. The Brazilian legend is hailed alongside Jones as one of the greatest to ever put on the gloves. And let us tell you guys, it's not for nothing. Silva was an absolute monster, and when he stepped into that octagon, it was complete domination. We tuned in to see if anyone could beat him, and hey, Uncle Shale came pretty close, but in the end, the Spider got him too. Yeah, it's really no surprise that he holds the record for the longest win streak in the UFC. The man was running laps around the whole division, and if it wasn't for that leg break in 2008, maybe he would have reached even greater heights. No one has broken his record, and Usman came close, sure, but then he was put to sleep by Edwards. So no, we don't think anyone's going to top this for a long time. Next up, number 2, most consecutive title defenses. Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson was so good it was boring. Yeah, no one ever beat him in the UFC. The man's legacy is clear-cut. He is a GOAT, and no one has even come close to his staggering 11 successful title defenses. The closest anyone's ever come was Usman with 5. Yeah, Edwards threw a wrench in the works for him. Anyway, not even the most dominant champions have been able to come close to Mighty Mouse, and we doubt anyone ever will. Finally, at number 1, Khabib's undefeated record. Much to the annoyance of fans and fighters alike, Khabib retired from MMA in 2020 after a long and successful career. Boy, was it amazing. We've got another GOAT on our hands here, guys. This man was never defeated, not once. No MMA fighter in the UFC's history has ever accomplished this. Guys like Oliveira, Poirier, and Gaethje could only dream of a spotless 29-0-0 record. Needless to say, this record is here to stay. There literally aren't any undefeated top-level guys in the UFC right now, other than maybe Chimaev, who could even attempt to pull it off. That's a wrap, guys. Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, like and subscribe. See you in the next one.